Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Consideration of agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Okay, the first item on our agenda is the Businesswomen of Missouri Week.
Okay.
And I have a proclamation.
Go.
No.
Not yet, no, not yet. She's the new president.
New president.
New is the key word.
Okay, we'll do this so they can see you.
Sure.
They don't have to see me. Whereas working women constitute over 50% of the nation's workforce and strive to serve their communities, state, and nation in professional, civic, and cultural capacities. And whereas 38% of the employed women work in management or professional related occupations. And whereas women have major buying power, are major players in consumer markets, and are responsible for a large percentage of all consumer purchases. Whereas women in Missouri came together June 13, 1921, to form the Missouri Federation of Business and Professional Women's Club, Incorporated, to support women in training, education, and legislative issues, and was rechartered in 2010 as the Businesswomen of Missouri. And whereas the Businesswomen of Missouri is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, self-governing, and member-supported organization which empowers women to show your passion by making it real to achieve equity for all women in the workplace. And whereas this organization includes members of all professions who represent a variety of skills and backgrounds that share similar objectives. And whereas the Excelsior Springs Businesswomen of Missouri have had 3 local state presidents, Norma Bailey, 78 to 79, Eleanor Griffith from 87 to 88, and Sheila Miller from 2017 to 18. And whereas the local organization remains active in the community, our members of the Excelsior Springs Chamber of Commerce provide an annual Senior Girl Scholarship and annually recognize a local woman for exceptional services to the community. Whereas the mission of the Businesswomen of Missouri is to empower women personally, politically, and professionally, and to achieve equity for all women in the workplace through advocacy, education, and information. Now therefore, I, Sharon Powell, Mayor of the City of Excelsior Springs, Missouri, do hereby proclaim October 16th through 22nd, 2022 to be Businesswomen of Missouri Week. So down the 17th day of October 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May we have just a few minutes more?
Sure, you may.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. You might have heard in that proclamation that we honor an extraordinary woman annually. And this year, we are honoring Molly McGovern.
Oh.
We are honoring Molly because over this past year, Molly, and through the leadership of her staff, they have secured us with more than $21.5 million for safe streets and sidewalks on Warnell Street. She's also helped to establish money from Clay County for our watershed project and for our Powell Lake dredging that is taking place right now. And we've learned that she's also helped secure money to replace the bridge by the Elms Hotel. This is phenomenal to have all of this happening for us. So, Molly, we have a certificate for you.
Okay.
Okay.
And here I go right in with the
So you want to come forward and
Sure.
accept it? Okay.
So everybody can see this. The Businesswomen of Missouri proudly give the Activist Award presented to Molly McGovern for exceptional service to the community, promoting women in business and women's issues. Excelsior Springs businesswomen in Missouri would like to present this tonight, October 17th, 2022. Thank you, Molly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
And you don't have to say anything.
No speech.
No
It's
speech.
always a surprise. The woman never has a clue that it's coming.
Quite the hall.
That's awesome.
Now you know why your daughter came.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, little bird told John.
Very good. Agenda item number 2 is a presentation of the third quarter Placer AI report from Lindsay Baxter.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Council Top Act to follow. Per our agreement with our Placer AI system, this is a third quarter report as well as the 2 events that took place during the third quarter. I will go through a brief summary of all of these. In the third quarter, we had 124,345 visits, which was a 9.78% increase compared to the third quarter of last year. And we had 53,521 visitors, which was a 1.86% increase compared to last year. The average dwell time increased by 28.13%, and the visit frequency also increased by 7.3%. When you look at the third quarter monthly reports, you can compare those 3 months over 2020, 2021, and 2022. There was increases in every month in 2022 over the previous year, with the largest being during that month of September, being an increase of 21.56% compared to the previous September. The downtown hours of visitation did stay relatively the same, not a whole lot changed there. The only thing worthy of mentioning is the visits between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. did increase, so that tells us that likely Ray's Lunch, other trails, our morning businesses had a great quarter. Daily visits by day of the week. This was a little bit more up and down. On Monday, there was a 26% increase. Tuesdays dropped by 3%. Wednesdays were up by 2%. Thursdays were up by 2.23%. Fridays had a significant jump by 42, almost 43%. Saturdays dropped slightly by 4.5%, and then our Sundays also dropped by nearly 9%. The data takeaways looking at the length of visit, the time in which people are spending here, very consistent to previous quarters, nothing worth mentioning that was of substantial difference. When we look at the visitor demographics of those that came to visit us, pretty consistent as far as the top zip codes are concerned, as well as the percentage of visitation that comes from the top 100, or excuse me, top 70 zip codes. One change was our visitations from outside of the state of Missouri did decrease slightly in that top zip code visitation. When you look at that map of distribution, if you compare it to previous quarters, you will see that the blue is far more condensed when we're looking at the visitor origins. That's likely attributed to gas prices going up, and so people making travels closer to home. So we did see heightened visitation closer to us. When we look at the trade area coverage, which breaks down the distance by which people traveled from their home. Again, you'll still see a little bit of that condensed cluster, but you can see we still did get some outside visitation. Everything stayed, again, pretty consistent within 1 to 2% during each mileage, or in each mileage category of where people came from. The only place that we did see a slight hike was in that 100 to 250 mile radius, which doesn't make sense considering we talked earlier and I said people traveled closer from home. Again, consider that that's the top 50 zip codes in that previous page. This is overall complete visitation. I will ask if there are any questions you may have on that third quarter report prior to moving into the 2 event reports.
Did you mention on Sunday it was a decrease? I see an increase actually back on page 5 from 2021 to 2022.
Yeah,
On which day?
Sundays?
the data in the graph don't match.
I will check on that. If you look at the, on Sunday in 2022, we had it should have been a slight increase. I wrote a down arrow, it should have been an arrow.
Okay.
My apologies.
Okay, no worries.
Yes.
Which one did you want to do next, Lindsay?
We'll go to barbecue, if that's okay.
Sure. Give me just a second.
So we have some building sounds.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Steam goes, steam pipes playing hockey.
Time to turn the heat on.
Sounds like grade school.
First up, we will discuss the barbecue report. I'll be pretty brief with these. I'm happy to answer any questions after. With the visits, we had 6,891 visits to downtown over the course of that Friday and Saturday. To give you a comparison, and knowing that we made a pretty late decision to move that back downtown this year, when I compare that number to the previous year when we were still at the airport, that's a 175% increase in visitors that came to support the event. And then 2019, when we were downtown, that's still a 17.98% increase from where we were the last time it was held downtown. Then when we look at visitors, that was an increase of 301% compared to last year and a 13.86% compared to 2019. The average dwell time is always slightly heightened on this event because we have several people park and stay in their campers and they're here the whole time. But when we held it at the airport, that average dwell time was closer to 650 minutes. So there was a little bit more movement and more people that balanced it out. Again, with the length of stay, much of what I just shared, that 150 more is higher because some people stay overnight, but everything else is consistent with other event visitation. And the visitor demographics for this, 35% were 64024 zip code residents. All Kansas City zip codes equaled a little over 11%. Our total visitation of the top 70 zip codes, of the top 70 zip codes, our total visitation was just under 94%, and 26 of those top 70 zip codes were outside of the state of Missouri. We did bring in teams from 11 different states this year, so that helped add to that number, but that also shows us that they brought friends. Distance traveled by visitors by home location. This graph is pretty similar, however, there is an increase in that 1 to 2 mile travel time, so that's our local traffic that came to support the event. Other than that, it's pretty consistent with all of those travel times for all of the other reports we share. Ethnicity, again, very consistent in any report that I look at. The average household income of the visitor was $76,000. You can look at the post and prior locations of visitors who came and the breakdown of that. Any questions on the barbecue report before I move to the mugshots report?
Encouraging.
10% of people from 100 miles or more.
On the mugshots, we had 2,375 visits, which was an 8.75% increase compared to the previous year. Excuse me, not the previous year, 2020. The reason I am telling you 2020 is because we did not compare to 2021 because at that time we tried to marry the mugshots event with Oktoberfest, the bed races, homebrew. There was just a lot going on, so that wasn't a fair comparison to give. Average dwell time 138 minutes with a 1-for-1 visit frequency. Very consistent again on the length of stay, nothing overly important to note there. We did have 14 of the top 70 zip codes being outside the state of Missouri. Our Kansas City visitation was 14.82%, and 100% of our total visitation came from those top 70 zip codes. You will see we had close to 43% of Excelsior Springs 64024 residents attend this event. It is heavily supported, which also shows people staying close to home on that map. The trade area coverage, again, similar breakdown, less visitation from that 250 plus mile radius, a significant jump in the 10 to 30 mile per radius, but again, pretty heightened in comparison to normal reports with local traffic. The ethnicity, again, very similar. Average household income was $69K. The post and prior locations are listed, and then separate from Placer in the reporting we do in conjunction with this, we can say that there was an estimated economic impact of just over $16,000 on that Saturday. If there are no questions on any of those reports, I would add, I wanted to let you all know that I was able to find a way to set a traffic pin, so we will now be able to track the visitation to the lane of lights moving forward and back through the years.
Great.
Cool.
That's just cars that travel through as opposed to length of stay, so the reporting's not quite as substantial. And then since the very first quarter report that I submitted to you all, Placer has released some new tools into their primary system. Those include variants, it also includes additional zip codes, and as well as a loyalty section. So you'll see those additional statistics in the end of year report that I present to you. And lastly, our DEP's EV, Economic Vitality Team, is creating individualized reports of all of those statistics that we're supplying to all of our downtown and tourism related businesses to help guide them in some of their business decision making.
Lindsay, help me understand how the number for visit frequency is derived and how that correlates to the average dwell time.
So a visit frequency, if you, on this page, this is the boundaries. When you come in these boundaries, that constitutes as one visit.
Okay.
When you exit that boundary and you come back in, that's your second visit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 3 is consideration of a letter of engagement with Emerson for consulting services. Vonda.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Consideration, the letter that was presented to you for approval is with Emerson and Company LLC to provide accounting consulting services. The city brings in consultants that have specific specializations in different areas based on the city's needs at that time. And Emerson, we located them when we interviewed 4 different professional consulting firms that specialize in accounting. We specifically were looking for strengths in municipal fund accounting, bank reconciliation regarding specifically pooled cash accounts, bond refundings, which the city did 2 years in a row, which was unusual, grants and CFA reporting, and municipal annual audits. Emerson brought in their consultant, Ryan Tierney. He specifically has a background in as a municipal auditor, and we've been working with him to get pieces completed for the 2021 audit. We would like, with this agreement, this would allow us to continue with Ryan moving forward and continue our progress. The items that are detailed out on the letter of engagement. Ryan's committed to our goal, which is to produce accurate monthly financial statements in a streamlined process on a monthly basis. The superseding addendum that was also attached was provided by Paul, our city's attorney, and Emerson has agreed to sign that. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have.
No questions? Okay, we have resolution, consideration of a letter of engagement with Emerson for consulting services.
I move we approve resolution number 1384, consideration of a letter of engagement with Emerson for consulting services.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Agenda item number 4 is a consideration of change order for Hall of Waters Save America's Treasures, a resolution.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Community Development brings to you this evening for your consideration a Hall of Waters change order request in the amount of $46,742. We discussed last week during our work session the total request of $131,624. We have removed from this change order the asbestos remediation as we continue to work on that, trying to determine what our alternative options are. We're looking at encapsulating asbestos, as well as visiting with the EPA about what assistance they may be able to provide. So this evening's request is for $46,742. This includes basement column shoring and footing modifications, the ceiling grid removal, some repair to columns and joists that are concrete in nature, as well as a gas line in the basement that has been out of service for quite some time, and hanger replacements that replace those hangers that are broken on an existing pipe in the basement that needs to be maintained and is in use and needs to have hangers to replace it to maintain that. To answer any questions you would have.
Any questions? Okay, a resolution, consideration of a change order for the Hall of Waters Save America's Treasures.
I move we approve resolution number 1385, consideration of change order for Hall of Waters Save America's Treasures.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 5 is a resolution, consideration of a revised lease agreement with MASIC.
I move that we table resolution number 1386, consideration of revised lease agreement with MASIC.
Second.
Roll call,
Thank you.
Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. Agenda item number 6 is a consideration, let me get to that one. This is an ordinance, I have more to read. An ordinance authorizing the City of Excelsior Springs, Missouri to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with MARC Solid Waste Management District relating to the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Before you tonight, you have an intergovernmental agreement between the MARC Solid Waste Management District and Excelsior Springs relating to the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program. This is a yearly contract for services that we have participated in for a number of years. By participating, residents in our community have the option of disposing of their hazardous waste through regional drop-off events, as well as permanent facilities in Kansas City and Lee Summit. This agreement is for 1 year and is budget expense in refuse. For this year, the total contract is $11,451 for 2023. The amount was based on information received from the U.S. Census Bureau 2021 population estimates for Excelsior Springs, which was 10,410, and that's at $1.10 per capita rate. It did go up 1 penny from last year. It was $1.09 last year. This year, we partnered with Lawson and Richmond at a mobile event that we held here in Excelsior 2 weekends ago on October 8th, and we had 218 drop-offs. Ordinance is attached for your consideration and approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Okay, an ordinance authorizing the City of Excelsior Springs, Missouri to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with MARC Solid Waste Management District relating to the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program.
I move that we take ordinance number 22-10-05 to consideration of 2023 Regional Hazardous Waste Collection Program to second reading.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell.
Yes. An ordinance authorizing the City of Excelsior Springs, Missouri to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Mark Solid Waste Management District relating to the Regional Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program.
I move we approve ordinance number 22-10-05, consideration of 2023 Regional Hazardous Waste Collection Program.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
An ordinance allowing the claims and appropriating to pay the same by issuing checks out of various funds of the city.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Appropriations for your consideration presented are for a 2-week period totaling $1,884,770.78. Appropriations on 9/30/22, $1,175,619.59. Appropriations on October 12th of 22, $357,013.11, and payroll on October 14th of $352,138.08. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay. An ordinance allowing claims and appropriating to pay the same by issuing checks out of various funds of the city.
I move that we take ordinance number 22-10-06, consideration of appropriations, to second reading.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell,
Yes. An ordinance allowing claims and appropriating to pay the same by issuing checks out of various funds of the city.
I move we approve ordinance number 22-10-06, consideration of appropriations.
Second.
Roll call, Shannon?
Councilman Kowalski,
Yes.
Councilman Spawn,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Spear,
Yes.
Mayor Powell,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, remarks by city manager.
Wow, a lot going on tonight. This is amazing. Thank you so much. A couple of things for this week. There will be a candidate meet and greet at Other Trails on Saturday between 8 and 10 a.m. And that'll principally be, I suppose, county officials, but there could be others. I'm not in the planning of that, but that will be a nice event if you have questions or trying to figure out what you're going to do on Election Day. And then there's going to be a community unity rally that afternoon at 1 o'clock at the football field. And that is just to bring our community together after a pretty rough couple of weeks and month, maybe even. So those great things. Then next week, the Hospital Foundation dinner. The week after that, November 3rd, is the MML dinner that we're hosting at Pairings. And I just learned that the museum is having their annual dinner the same night. So parking ought to be fun on Broadway. Their events at Montgomery and ours is at Pairings. So that's all for me.
Okay. Sonia?
I just want to recognize Brian Rice here as our new chamber director. I think this was your first day. Very good. We're glad you're there. That's it.
Stephen?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Andrew? Mark? I
No.
tried to shake it up here. I could get Andrew to talk. I could trick Andrew into saying something. Mark?
Nothing further.
Nothing to see. I just want to thank, I kind of left town as soon as it happened, but you guys did an awesome job handling this last week, and thank you to all of your officers and to everybody, the paramedics and everybody that was involved in all of that. Thank you so much. You make us feel safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are closed.